I just recorded the entire video with the camera off. Let me drink some of this weird Taiwan drink. Oh, that's pretty good. So I'm going to show you everything on ultra, and then I'm going to show you ultra low or off, whatever the lowest setting is, and then I'm going to show you my settings and why I feel they're so important. Keep in mind that this is a 1660 Super, so it's not going to handle this well. So if you look around, I mean, and the people don't look the best because the frame rate right now, but if you kind of stay still, everything looks really good. Now we'll take a little bit of a stroll here. We'll get into like a sort of shaded area, so I can kind of like really show you how. Okay, here we go. So look at all the detail here. Now we're gonna set everything to the absolute lowest possible. So this should be a pretty stark difference. Sometimes you forget how far we've come. So now let me go to my settings, and then I'll start to explain to you why they're so important. Anisotropic filtering, or anisotropic filtering, I don't know how to pronounce it. That's one of the most important ones. As I activate these settings, we'll see what they do in real time. So already you can see detail in the road. I mean, this alone like looks miles better than it just did. Now let's get us in the car sitting pretty. Now the difference between ultra and low in vehicle details, I can't tell. Maybe it's just because my headset is lower resolution. I can't tell a difference at all. Like, it's not worth the performance trade-off. So now you'll see that we got bodies, right? But he still doesn't have his little pamphlet to tell me where the best locations are in Hawaii and the best places to eat in Mexico are. But you feel a lot more connected to the car because you can see your arms, right? And you feel like a co-driver's next to you. You can kind of see him in your peripheral vision. Trees, right here. So if you look right here, you can kind of see these little X patterns. And if I stay real still, they're actually connected to my head, right? If I kind of go side to side a little bit, it almost looks like your grandma's sweater, tic-tac-toe, a bunch of millions of dice on the 5 side. You get the point. It doesn't look good. To fix that, so you want at least medium settings on the trees. Next is shader detail. It makes a huge difference. Here we go. Look at that. This makes an even bigger difference the more you add foliage. You want this on ultra at all times. Look at that. It's a whole different scene. Let's mosey on through it. You'll notice it still looks a little bit weird and like a little bit too bright and cartoony, right? And that's because we have no shadows. So now we're going to introduce shadows here while we're still on the topic of shaders. And the shadows are on ultra low, so now we're going to start seeing shadows from the, cast from the trees. Right? 50. So look at these shadows. You can tell they just look like a mess. Like, what is that? It looks like a stain on the ground. Look how you can barely tell like how far away something is. Right? I mean, you can tell like that tree's farther away or whatever, but with this foliage in front of the tree right here, it's almost it's almost like you can't pick out each individual plant. I mean, you can if you look hard enough, but it's hard to see depth in it. So like I said, the more settings you have on, the bigger deal shaders are. Boom! Look at that. Now this is, a combination of shadows and, the extra foliage, but that's huge. And look at the shadow that once looked like a spill on the ground. It's actually recognizable as a shadow on ultra low. And that's the difference that shaders makes. Now one more setting here is really important though. And this is mostly just for certain stages. Object should be set at least on medium. Actually, let's keep it on low, and I'll show you why. In Poland, this is like the biggest deal I found for objects. And you don't want this to happen because it really just takes you out. When you have a VR headset on, you want to be where you're looking. That's why VR is so cool, because you can just be transported into different worlds just instantly. Now we're gonna look for some peppermint candies. So be on the lookout for some peppermint candies. I'll drive by slow. We'll do a drive-by. Notice that? 1. 2. So yeah, so they changed 2 or 3 times right in front of your face. That's distracting. What's up?
I was gonna see if you could take me my hair.
What do you mean? Why were you just eating candy back there?
Yeah, I was just waiting.
I knew I fucking heard that.
Yeah.
I thought that was that mouse, so I was like, ah, fuck. So now that we've gone over all the graphical settings that I feel are most important in VR specifically, let's rate them from least important to most important. I started up high, so I had to go up higher. I should have started down here. Least important to most important. The first setting is object. Now, I showed you the candy cane thing, but there are very few instances where that huge of a texture pop-in happened. But like in places like Poland, you'd at least want to turn that on for this event. But I can't remember many times where that's like been a huge issue. So that's why it's last on the list. Next is trees. Now, if you can deal with that weird checkerboarding thing, more power to you. The performance, is there. You can get a little bit of extra performance like that. But in my opinion, medium at least. Next, in my opinion, would be shadows. Now, it is really important, like when you're going under like tree canopies and, it adds a lot of depth to the scenery. I'm not saying it's not important, but on this list, it's not the top spot. Next would be shaders. The more things you have on your screen, the bigger impact this makes. This one's kind of a toss-up, but vehicle details, in my opinion, is third. Second would be anisotropic filtering, or anisotropic filtering. It's not a huge performance hit on the GPU, so I think this one's really important to keep on no matter what. And the final one, if you haven't already guessed, is ground cover. Now, I will show you one reason why you would want to turn ground cover to low. Argentina. Argentina is infamous, at least in my brain, for this annoying visual artifact that's all throughout. It's like littered through the stage. So right now we still have ground coverage.
Ground coverage to Major Tom.
On Ultra. Now you can already kind of see it, but if you look in front of the car, I move my head around, look at all that shimmering, all those little tiny rocks, those little 3D particles just on the stage at all times. So we're going to take a little bit of a run through it.
5:34.
Just constant flickering.
Opens.
And it's really bad in some areas. This is pretty mild right now.
80.
And when the sun hits it just right, or at certain times of day, like right here, look at that.
60
Okay,
bumps,
so this is a good
caution,
example.
one left,
It's just
unseen.
everywhere. It's like someone didn't pick up their, they spilt like a bunch of pepper on the ground. They just never picked it up. Peter Piper picked pebble, whatever. Peter Piper picked a pebble up. Now watch closely, even though you won't have to. If that annoys you so much, you can get rid of it for a cost, and it's pretty costly. It's gone. But so is most of the ground coverage. We'll just drive this home once more why this is top spot on the list. Ground cover, high. Boom. Look at that. Look at that difference. That's huge. Looks so much more natural, There's little bits of stuff growing all over near the track. It makes it to where like the track doesn't feel like it's cookie cutter all the way through. Anyway, that's the video. Hopefully it helped you out like on your journey to finding a pretty decent image quality in VR. Have a good day. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.